have sound, we have music, we have an infinite universe inside of us and outside of us. We are in an era of great change. We are in the middle of a big shift in humanity that has started a long time ago, and it's now continuing since 25th of July, which has been the day beyond time, as the Mayas call it. And on the 26th of July, we have started a new cycle of evolution in human consciousness, which has brought us new energy for change. We are changing in every blank second. In a blink of an eye, new technologies emerge. In a blink of an eye, new stars and galaxies are discovered. In a blink of an eye, our consciousness and our awareness can encompass more and more of what this universe is and represents and what we are in relation to it. But how does this relate to our bodies? And how are these starships interacting with these changes? I'm going to speak today about free energy. I call this presentation Free Energy Unveiled. But I'm mainly speaking about how we're utilizing this free energy, this vacuum energy, plant field, as Nassim calls it, inside our bodies as nourishment. How many of you are interested in that? How many of you have heard or utilized this word called Breatharianism? Anybody? Thank you. So I'm not using it much, but because it's a very common word here, I've noticed many people know it, we're going to refer to it as such for the common understanding of it. We are a system of consciousness that has immersed itself in a physical body and is utilizing it as a starship. But what if you had the best starship that has ever been created? A starship that can transmit information across time and space, across galaxies in instant moment, that can teleport, that can emit such radiation, such energy that can heal people or places or planets around it. Would you love to have that starship?
Yes.
Would you love that? Who would love that? I know I would. And how would you treat that starship if you had it? Would you put the best fuel in it? Would you put the best polish on it, or whatever we use on Starship to keep it nice and good looking? Or would you just throw it in a Starship garage somewhere and nourish it with the worst fuel in the world? What would you do?
Take care.
Take care of it. Why? Because it's the best of the best, no? What if we all have that Starship as we speak? Who thinks he already or she already got that? It is your body. That starship is our body. Yeah, each one of us have that amazing starship. But are we treating it the best way we can? That's another question. Are we knowing everything we can about it? All its buttons, all its systems, all its interaction within and without, and all its capabilities, are we knowing that? I'm not sure we all do. And it's an invitation from now on, from this moment on, to look at our starship and all its possibilities and all its best fuel from another angle, just to see what it's capable of. And on that note, I'm going to go back to the free energy concept. In 2019, when I was getting back to my balance, when I was about 27, 28, I guess, 2009, sorry, I started meditating. And I started changing my lifestyle because I was a busy manager working 16 hours a day, 7 or 6 days a week. I was crazy, I admit it. And I had to change because I was falling off my feet and it was not helping me or my family or my friends, that system that I was creating in my life. And I started meditating. meditating, and I started going to self-healing classes, and I studied Qigong and yoga and all these techniques. And at some point, not long after, I learned that in this world there are people that are not using physical food as nourishment. How many of you believe that this is possible? Oh, I'm amazed and I'm in awe. I bow to you. I'm really, really happy that there's so many people that believe in that. So I met a lady that was nourished by life without taking physical food since since 93. And I was in a conference with her, and I listened to what she was presented. And she was not speaking, surprisingly, about how to not eat. She was speaking about consciousness. She was speaking about lifestyle. She was speaking about balance. She was speaking about how to get to that constant state of bliss or happiness or amazement with life that eventually makes us feel nourished. Would you love that? Mm-hmm. Would it be a possibility that each one of us would experience that at some point? I think it is, because I'm living it. And I hesitated a lot today between presenting the scientific perspective of how we can be nourished by life, or chi, or prana, or plant field, so between presenting that or giving a direct experience of what that is and how it feels. What would you prefer? Would you prefer the science of it and what happens with the hormones and the internal systems, or would you prefer direct experience? Because I only got 18 minutes. Experience. Hands up for science. Okay. I thought I was in a scientific gathering. I'm so glad. I'm going to do a little science anyway, just to have it recorded in the mind body of everyone here. But I'm mainly going to do, and we're already doing, the energy work for it, to be woven in our fields. Because each place we go and we speak about it, it opens a certain energy field above us and within us that helps us eventually experience that more and more. And many people have shifted very quickly after such an encounter. But we're not saying, and I want to rephrase the definition of being nourished by prana, just to wipe some programs out of public consciousness. I'm not saying that when nourished by prana we have to completely give up food. I was talking to Pastor Garbo the other night, and he said, you know, it would take so much for me to do this, so long, and I really like to eat, and I really like chocolate, you know. And I like chocolate too. Actually, I like chocolate more since I started to have this system of nourishment. It's really a taste that I'm enjoying so much. So I'm not ready to give that up, and I'm not saying why. It's pleasure and I like it. But we can, however, have freedom. So, pranic consciousness and pranic nourishment and free energy is mainly about the freedom. The freedom of not being bound by limitedness, by the concept that if you don't go to a supermarket or you don't have your fridge full, you're gonna die. No, that's a very limited concept, and many people are very anxious about not having enough food in their homes and around them. By the concept that you constantly have to have 3 meals a day and snacks in between. By the concept that you constantly have to go shopping, spend money on it, and then wash dishes, and spend a lot of time in restaurants and looking for the best restaurants, so on and so forth. That's not necessary. With this system that we're utilizing as nourishment, we can go and drive for miles and miles without stopping at the gas shop and the supermarket to eat or so. We can have infinitely beautiful talks with friends without having to go to coffee or having to go to a restaurant and wait for the waiter and so on. We can use our fridge as furniture, which I'm actually doing. That's not a joke. All friends laugh at me, but I'm not using my fridge to store food in it. I do, however, have some food in my house. It's just not in my fridge. What happens is that there have been studies that are confirming that our body is shifting from carbon to crystal. it's literally shifting structure. We're becoming something else as physical bodies. And that makes it possible that we encompass more energy and we transceive more energy than we did before. And that is helping us relate to this chi or plant field or energy field in a different way in terms of nourishment. It allows us to eat less and gain more from the plant field. Because we're having a different system, our starship is upgraded, in other words. That's the explanation of it. And I'm going to refer to you and ask, how many of you are feeling these days that you are needing less food than before? Lighter food than before? Lighter. And how many of you are finding that with certain foods that you used to like and enjoy so much, you're now getting bloated and a little bit uncomfortable, very much discomfort? Yeah, that's because you're eating the same things, but you're putting it in a different starship. You're different, you're anew, yes? And that requires more awareness of why do you utilize that fuel. So whenever you go to the supermarket or you restaurant or order something for your body to put in your body, just ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it a necessity? Am I hungry? Is it an emotional reason? It reminds me of something? Is it a pleasure thing? If you're doing it for pleasure, you can taste a few bites and stop. And you already got the feeling of pleasure, and you can also be comfortable in your body with not overloading it. If you're doing it for emotional reason, then you can find that core reason that is behind the emotion and what hunger do you actually have. And you can feed that. Maybe you need to be held. Maybe you need to talk to somebody. Maybe you need to release something. And that's your hunger. It's not for the food. And there's many hungers, and I refer to all of them in this book that I'm holding in my hand that is called the Pranic World Book, which has all types of hungers described. It has all types of detox described at an emotional, mental, and physical level. And it also has all types of scientific discoveries that have been found so far of what our body does to be able to harness more prana. Because at the base of our nutrition is something called ATP. That's what nourishes our cells. How many of you know of ATP? It has a funky name, but I'm not going to say now. You know, it's a scientific name and it's long. But it is produced and it nourishes our bodies. What scientists have discovered is that this ATP is regulated or influenced by how much melatonin we produce. And this melatonin has been discovered to be produced in the pineal gland. And for a long time, we all thought it's only produced there. And there is some ways where we can influence the production of melatonin in the pineal gland, such as sun gazing and meditation and breath work as well. And it's been discovered that with these three methods alone, we can produce up to 400 to 500% more melatonin in pineal gland. And there are people like Haramein, who is doing sun gazing, who has a much larger pineal gland measured scientifically than a normal person. So it can increase also in size, not only in melatonin production. But what they also discovered, and it's very interesting, is that also our digestive system that produces melatonin. And it actually is measured that our digestive system, when fasting, that is when left alone, when not put to work, when not cluttered, is producing 400% more melatonin than in a normal state than the pineal gland. So, which leads me to the question, is our digestive system really initially created to digest, or is it more related to that thing that we say, that I feel it in my gut, that intuitive property that it has, that messenger property that it has, that it helps us know that we know without knowing that we know? Could it be that this digestive system has indeed another function that we utilize it now for, and that we're hindering its activity with too much food, or with food, I hope. From my experience, having lived this since 2009, because with meditation, with certain practices, with certain exercises, my food intake has decreased to a degree where now I prefer liquid nourishment as juices and soups. And when I'm feeling too out there and I need to ground or sleep, because you do not sleep much when you have much energy, when I need to put my body to sleep, I use a little bit of raw vegan food at night, in evening time. Just almonds or pistachio or soup or something small, like no more than a fistful. And that immediately, I have to go sleep after that. So that has allowed me to shift my system, and I'm noticing that when my digestive system is clear, or just with liquids, my capacity of focus and intuition and energy transmission and telepathy and all that starship properties that I talked about before are heightened, increased to the degree that I can perceive much more than I sometimes want to. Yes. But when I eat, it then becomes a little bit slowed down. Sometimes it's good for me, to experience that slowing down and that restfulness in my buzzing energy. But sometimes I feel that it reduces very much my ability to relate to my projects. And I'm holding many projects in parallel. Books and the Pranic Festival in Romania that is 2 weeks from now, where we bring all these Pranic people together and we get them to share their experience to the world. And they talk about what they do, and they sit with people at table and they give them their techniques. And it's amazing just to be in their presence, because their resonance is like sky high. A person that doesn't eat for 10 or 20 years is usually called a saint, and it's only been reported in very, very ancient texts of them, where there are many of them existing now in the world, and they're just people like us, some have had families, some hold conferences, some travel all over the world, and yet they're not using solid food for many, many years. But to demystify the word breatharianism, I'm going to say that being in this state does not mean that you never put food in your mouth again, because that's what people expect. It only means that you have this freedom, that you have this ability or this limitlessness that you can tap into wherever and whenever you want, but you're also free to taste whatever you want, into certain limits of frequency, because we can never utilize meat, for example, or heavy food. It really has a very strong impact on the body, which I'm sure some of you are feeling as well. And we cannot utilize certain products, but we don't need them anymore. We don't crave for them anymore, so it's okay anyway. But you can taste stuff. And if you see somebody that is called a breatharian having a coffee or having a chocolate or having a meal with friends, which we sometimes enjoy, even though we do get bloated, it doesn't mean that that label has to be totally taken off. Say, no, he's not. If he's eaten a salad once a week, he's not nourished by prana. He's not there yet. Who functions with one salad and one fistful of almonds, generally? With all the theory of 3 meals a day, of snacks in betweens with certain calorie intake that we need to survive, we wouldn't believe that it is possible, right? And still, it has been discovered also, as I was speaking about melatonin, that this melatonin influences the ATP production, yes? So the more we stimulate our pineal gland, the more we free our digestive system, the more we are in an alpha theta state that is facilitating this production of melatonin, the more ATP we produce. And that's helping us have energy in our cells without taking it from an external source. And actually, in a study that has measured calorimetry in the body, has measured the calories, with some NASA suits around the 90s, has been proven that 8 to 25% of the calories that were being utilized in certain processes, like sports activities and so on, and that were being measured, 8 to 25% of them were not coming from a source that could be identified. So they were not coming from food, they were not coming from something that is measurable. And the scientists call that the unidentified source of energy, or QRX they call it. And it's real, you know, it's scientifically proven. But what if we could increase that 8 to 25% and take it to 80% and just take 20% food, just for pleasure or just to taste? What if we could increase it to 100% when we not need to eat anymore? And what if we take it to 200% and then we fuel communities? We become generators. Somebody was saying yesterday, I don't remember who, that we can, instead of being taking from the external world, we could be generating into the external world. And we become generators. What if we could do that? How healing would that be for humanity? How healing would that be for a gathering where we enter? How healing would it end world hunger? Would it end environmental issues? Global healing and all that is relating to food production and how we utilize our resources and our land. Would that be a solution? What do you think?
Yes.
I think, and it's not even a complicated solution, it's free. We don't need to build devices, we don't need to put things on it. Oh, sorry. We don't need to put things on us to enhance that. We just need to breathe. And I invite you now to try that. And we can have like a 5-minute experience, if it's allowed, to how it is to breathe into coherence. And we can imagine each one of us that we are in a light column, from the center of the universe to the center of the earth. Each one in his light column, each color you prefer. And as you breathe the light from that light column into your body, from the center of the universe to the center of the earth, with a diameter like your hand stretched out, a cylinder of light. And as we breathe, we center it in our heart. And our heart is the center of this source of nourishment. And we feel that we have a connection cable from the heart of the central sun that is coming all the way down to our crown and all the way down, opening it, and all the way down into our hearts. And through this connection cable, you draw energy like through a straw with each breath into your heart. Breathing in, you draw more into your heart, fill your heart. Imagine it like a sphere that's getting filled with this unimaginable light and love and power from the center of the central sun. And as you breathe it out into your cells and into your internal organs and into your nervous system and circulatory system and muscles and bones and all the physical systems and skin, and out into your auric field, and then out into the universe. And you breathe in again more from the central sun and into your heart, and you feel this heart sphere of the heart chakra expanding and shining more brightly, like a generator, like a sun. And then out it goes into the cells, into the organs, into all the physical systems. Auric field and out into the universe. Feel your body tingling in response. Maybe feel your cells dancing with joy. Again, deep breath. Again, heart chakra expanding, sun. Exhaling then out this prana into the cells, into the organs, into the bone marrow. All the physical structures. Auric field. Out into the universe, allowing it to nourish others. We connect to each other with rays of this energy that's coming out from our hearts. We send out rays through all this room to each other, connecting heart to heart, compatibility heart to heart, coherence heart to heart, communication heart to heart. Breathing in again from the central sun, we send more prana around us, to the trees around us, to the people in the community, to all the resonance attendees, to all the speakers, to all the staff, to all the people in California, to all the people in US, to all the global community that we have on this planet, touching them with our heart rays of prana. We send from the heart with another breath down into our feet, to the soles of our feet, and anchor it as roots towards the center of the earth, the heart of Gaia, saying hi to the heart of Gaia, feeling its pulsation in response, feeling its vibration emitting up through our roots to the soles of our feet and through our ankles, and then calves and knees and thighs into our perineum, and then up to the base of the spine, and flowing up through the spine to our heart chakra, connecting to the energy of the central sun, mixing the yin and yang together, the masculine and feminine, in a beautiful dance, which is making us feel whole and complete and united, unified. And then going up to the base of our skull, activating the third pump of our bodies, and then to the top of our head, filling up the whole body with this energy from the center of the earth. And as it's filling up our whole body, it then springs out like a fountain in a toroidal field around our body, creating a bioshield that is preserving this energy around it in its purest, pristine form, and it's filtering out whatever we don't need. The radiation, the Wi-Fi, whatever is not necessary, the pollution, so that whenever we breathe this mix of yin and yang from the central sun and Mother Earth's heart into our heart. And we get unaltered by external pollution of any kind, including thought forms and thought programs. And that's your pranic cocoon, your pranic biosystem, in which you can dwell forever, whenever you remember to activate it and reinforce it again with your breath. That's why we call it breatharians. It's not that he's nourished by breath, but it's reinforced, reactivated, recentered by breath. That's what the breath does. The nourishment is indeed in your cells. You are a constant generator of prana, and as Brian Foster was yesterday saying, our bodies is as free energy as we can get. And before we close, I want to show you the people that are doing this, because it's really remarkable to know that not only we're talking about it or referring to it from the books, but there's actually real people that are my friends, that I've lived it with and traveled with and had beautiful experiences with, that are nourished in this way. These two ladies next to me are nourished by prana. The one in the middle is Miriam Omerzel, and she's like 18 years not eating and just sometimes drinking water. And Erica Witten, next to her, who's also coming to Romania in 2 weeks, is more than 83 years old and has more than 19 years on prana. She sometimes eats, she loves ice cream, but she does not need to take physical food. Gaston Baicchiani is remarkable because he is not only living on juices for more than 4 years or 5 years, but he's winning triathlons. You know triathlons? Triathlons, thank you. The language that I'm speaking is not in English usually. Very soliciting sports activity, contests, with swimming and running and all that. And he's doing that by only drinking half a glass of juice during the whole contest. The people that are, accepting him in contest, they do not know that he doesn't eat, but he does that, and he's got golden medals on it. So it is possible to have intense physical activity with this lifestyle. That's what I'm saying. We have again Erica here, and the daughter of a friend of mine, and the guy in the picture, sitting in front of me, You might know him. Yeah. He's been 3 years on Prana, Nassim, and when he was in his fan, and he just confessed about this in our first interview for the Pranic Consciousness Summit, which is an online platform that I've created where I've interviewed all of them to know what they do, how they do it, and all that. So if you look it up on the internet, Pranic Consciousness Summit, and you can find that interview and you can find the platform to maybe learn more about it. These guys are amazing. So the one with the cloak is not eating and not drinking for more than 9 years. So not even water, yes. His level of consciousness when it enters into a room, like sometimes people fall asleep instantly. It's quite amazing. It's like you're subjected to a very powerful energy generator when you're in the room with such a person. That's what happens, yes. Then the one next to him is my friend Haramein, the one with the cap, and he's right now in US. He was wanting to come here. He's been nourished by prana, I guess, since '94 or so. He's only using liquids. And the lady at the margin of the group with the reddish hair is Cristiana Eltrayan. She's from Russia. She's living now in Crimea, running a pranic center there. And she's been on prana since 2003. She's very passionate about the activity of the Resonance Science Foundation and Nassim. She always talks about it in her conferences. And I've been in the room with her at the festival, arriving after 14 hours of not sleeping and traveling. In half an hour, I was good as new. And she didn't even look at me. She was sitting on her bed, nearly sleeping. But that's the power of recalibration that such an individual has. Again, Eltrayan and Erika, and there's another friend and mentor of mine called Jasmine that is also has started to talk about this in the Western communities, but the photo is not here. If you look her name up on the internet, you'll find beautiful, beautiful conferences on this. Valentina Mironova, a Russian scientist, has proven and stated that our bodies are changing from carbon to crystal. I mentioned that before, but I invite you to research that more in depth, because then you'll be able to encompass how this is really possible for you. And before we close, I invite you to always check with your breath and with your body, whenever you choose nourishment, or whatever else you choose for your bodies, your beautiful, beautiful, amazing starships, to check, why am I doing this? Yes, why am I doing this? Is that what I really need? And can I give this up for a moment if it's not what I need? That would be interesting to check, right? I'm going to wrap it up with that and invite you to look up for more information. You can look up for this book if you want to look more in depth at the science of it and the possibilities. I have a few copies that I can give as gift for you. And also look up for the Pranic Festival in Romania. We're gathering each year on August 15 to 19, having this amazing power boost of energy for the planet. And in each gathering, not only we present our methods and techniques and practices, but we also create amazing energy vortexes that are nourishing the whole planet and the consciousness of humanity with accepting and integrating this possibility. Thank you all for being such an amazing